What's going on, guys? Welcome to Inside the Horseshoe. My name is Matt, and today we're going to be ranking the top five positions of need for the Colts heading into this year's NFL draft. Now, before I do that, if you're new, if you haven't already, I would greatly appreciate if you would click that subscribe button. Also, click the bell icon so you're notified when I upload a video or when I go live. If you like this video, smack the like button, leave your thoughts in the comments down below. And if you have a Twitter, make sure you follow me on Twitter at horseshoe_pod. There is a link in the description down below. So what I decided to do for today's video was I decided to look at the roster, take the five positions that I felt were the most important to address in this year's draft, and rank them as thus. Now, before we get into my number five, I should say real quick, just because this is the order that I have as far as what's the most important to address, that doesn't mean that this is what I think they should do in the draft, right? So, like, for example, I don't think they should go with number one in round one, number two in round two, my number three in round three, my number four in round four, my number five in round five. No, if you want to take what I have at number two in round three or four or five, I'm cool with that if there's a guy that I think could be very good for this roster or at least can help this team out. But again, just because this is the order I have doesn't mean this is what I think they should do in round one through five. So, with that being said, let's get into my number five. To be honest, I don't really view this as a big need. If they address this in the draft, I'm cool. If they don't, I'm cool. And that would be running back. And the reason why I have running back at number five is because I think adding a backup running back to replace Zach Moss is more important than adding some other positions like linebacker, right? So that's why I have it at number five because I do think they need to figure out who's going to replace Zach Moss. Now, could they have that guy on roster right now, like with Evan Hull? Maybe. Or maybe they think that they need to address it in the draft. Either way, I'm cool with whatever they do. I'm a big Audric Estime guy. I think he really fits that Zach Moss role. So if they were to bring in Audric Estime or there's that Allen kid from Wisconsin, if they were to bring in one of those guys to replace Zach Moss, cool, thumbs up for me. Um, but at the end of the day, I don't really think this is that big of a deal as far as a position to address. That's why I have it at number five. At number four, I really struggled between this position or the position that ended up being my number three. I really struggled on which one of those two would be my number four. I stuck with this one. I'm going wide receiver at number four. Look, we got our number one guy in Michael Pittman Jr. Josh Downs, he showed a lot of potential last year, had a really good year for his rookie season. I think he's going to have a really nice second year. Alec Pierce, I'm still a believer in him. I think with Richardson coming back, Richardson is going to be able to utilize Alec Pierce's biggest strength. And I think Alec Pierce is getting better at other areas when it comes to being a receiver. So I mean, I'm still all in on Alec Pierce. However, I do think you need to add one more receiver. Whether that receiver becomes the number four receiver, number three receiver, number two, or even number one, either way, I do think adding one more receiver would be a good idea. They do have Ashton Doolin coming back, and I think he would be a great number five receiver. Like a really, really good number five. I just don't think of him as a number four or a number three. So that's why I'm looking at adding another receiver to be that number four. That could be a number three, two, or one. And this year's draft, it's filled with a bunch of really, really good receivers. So they could draft one in the first round, and I would be okay with it. Or they could wait until the second round and bring in a very talented receiver, and I'd be good with that as well. So I like our starters for the most part, but I do think adding one more receiver would be a good idea, which is why I have it at number four. Moving on to number three, I decided to go cornerback here. The reason being is because I like our starters. I think I like our starters more than a lot of people. Kenny Moore had a really nice year last year, a really nice bounce back season. He's back. I think he's going to have a really good year. Dallas Flowers, before he got hurt, he played very good for us, did a very good job. And then Juju Brents, when healthy, was playing really good for us. I mean, we saw what he did against Devontae Adams. He had a really nice game. However, with those last two I mentioned, there are some injury concerns. I do have some injury concerns when it comes to Juju Brents. I do have a little bit of injury concerns when it comes to Dallas Flowers. That's why I think it is important to add another corner, at least one, if not two, in this year's draft. And look, go back to when Carson Wentz was our quarterback. You remember how we had to keep signing all these corners because our corners kept getting hurt? We had to keep doing that because we were very limited. And I don't want to be in a position where we have to roll with guys like Tony Brown or a Daryl Baker Jr. as our starters. So I think it is very important to bring in another corner that can develop this year, come in when you need them to when there's an injury, because there will be an injury. And then maybe next year they can be a starter. Either way, I think adding another corner, maybe two, would not be a bad idea at all. So I have corner at number three. Very important that we address that position. At number two, I'm going to go with safety. To me, safety is very important. We got Julian Blackman back. Good. He had a career year last year. I'm excited to see him back. But who's going to be that second guy? Are we going to roll with Rodney Thomas? Are we going to go with Nick Cross? I don't really like that because right now I think our safety room is bottom of the league. I would say it's in the 20s right now, even with Julian Blackman back. I mean, maybe it's like at 19 or 18, but just kind of thinking about it right now, I have them somewhere around 2021. So I do think adding another safety would be a good idea. All right, so now let's move on to my number one, which is going to be edge rusher. So for me, I think edge rusher is the most important position that we should address in this year's draft because while yes, we did break the record for most sacks in franchise history, it was very inconsistent. Like there were games against like the Patriots where we were getting a bunch of sacks and we were getting a lot of pressures. However, you go to the Bengals game and the Bengals offensive line that week had a lot of injuries. It was not healthy. This defensive line should have feasted. And I get it. You didn't have Grover Stewart. I understand that. However, that offensive line was really bad. You should absolutely take advantage of it, even if you don't have Grover Stewart, and get at least a sack or two. They got 0 sacks in that Bengals game. They didn't create much pressure in that Bengals game. That offensive line that Cincinnati had out there manhandled our defensive line. That's why I think adding an edge is very, very important. Very important. Because here's the thing adding another edge rusher is going to help guys like DeForest Buckner, Grover Stewart, Samson Ebukam, Quiddy Pay when he's out there, Dio when he's out there, Taekwon when he's out there, Raekwon when he's out there. It's going to help all these guys when they're out there on that defensive line. And not only is it going to help them, it's going to help our secondary out. It's going to help them out because they don't have to stick with their receiver quite as long as they would if our defensive line wasn't getting much pressure. You get a guy on that defensive line that can be a dude, our secondary is going to have plenty of opportunities to get interceptions because that's going to force quarterbacks to have to make quick decisions. And some can make really good quick decisions. Guys like Patrick Mahomes can do that. However, a lot of quarterbacks in the league, they're going to make mistakes when they have that much pressure on them. So I think it's extremely important to add an edge. I mean, you can't double team DeForest Buckner anymore if you get a really good edge rusher to be next to DeForest Buckner. You can't do that anymore because if you double team Buckner, that's going to leave that edge to go towards the quarterback. Or if you double team that edge, that's going to give Buckner an opportunity to blow up that offensive line and get to the quarterback. So, in my opinion, edge rusher is number one. It is the most important. So, with that being said, let's go through the list again. Number five is running back. Number four is wide receiver. Number three is cornerback. Number two is safety. And number one is edge rusher. And that's going to do it, guys. Thank you very much for watching. If you're new, if you haven't already, I would greatly appreciate if you would click that subscribe button. Also, click the bell icon so you're notified when I upload a video or when I go live. If you like this video, smack the like button. Leave your thoughts in the comments down below. And if you have a Twitter, make sure you follow me on Twitter at horseshoe_pod. There's a link in the description down below. Thank you very much for watching. I've been Matt, bleed blue, and we'll see you next time. Bye bye.
Thank you very much for watching this video. If you like it, make sure you watch one of these other two videos. They're cool. Also, if you're new, please click subscribe button as well as the bell icon. I greatly appreciate your support.